humanity. Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, The Voice.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses, politicians, and government agencies, we offer targeted advertising solutions that drive results. Amplify your message. Reach the heart of the Bronx and beyond. Our platform connects you to the community. Learn more. Email info@bronxpost.com or call 718-892-5555. Visit www.bronxpost.com for breaking news and updates. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative.
Okay, welcome to Talking Politics. My name is Robert Press. I am a reporter, as you can see by my official City of New York press card. I write for the Bronx Post, which you just heard, and the Parkchester Times. Both like this show are part of Parrot Media Corporation. I also contribute to the Co-op City News, have a blog at www.100%.blogspot.com where you can follow up on some of the stories we speak, along with Facebook pages 100% and what is going on in your community board. The views expressed on this show are those of the host, any guest, or anyone who is commentating at the bottom of the screen, and not necessarily those of Parrot Media Corporation. A quick check of the weather today. It is going to be raining on and off with a high of 46. Saturday and Sunday, the highs will be 35 and clear, and we will return to the 40s on Monday. Let me introduce my guest right now. It is Mr. Anthony Ravecchio, a political guru on Bronx politics. Do we have Anthony? There you go. Okay.
Happy New Year, Bob.
How are you, Anthony? Long time no see. We saw each other last.
No see. It's income tax season. You need your taxes done?
I've got them done already. But
fantastic.
We saw each other at a political forum last night, the mayoral forum that was presented by the Bronx Democratic Party, and we will get into that in the second half of the show. But I want to get into some national news right now. Donald Trump's commented that he wants 1.5 million Palestinians to relocate from Gaza to Jordan and Egypt. It wasn't clear whether it represented the massive U.S. policy shift or if Trump was just shooting from the hip. Now, the Trump administration is giving the green light to sending 2,000-pound bombs to Israel after the Biden administration paused them over the conflict in Gaza. Any comment on what's going on in the Gaza and Trump's plans?
Any comment? Your show's only a half hour, right?
We'll run over a little bit.
Yeah, all I can say in summarization is it's going to be a wild and wacky 4 years.
I was just going to get into that because...
and without taking any side, as I said to someone the other day, you can say Trump, but on the Democratic side, I would prefer to say, where was the turnout? Where was the turnout? Where was the turnout?
You're talking last night.
Last night was different. Last night was, of course, the mayoral debate. I thought it was a great debate, but like you said, we'll talk about that later. In regards to Gaza, again, I don't have any personal opinion except to say what Trump has said during the campaign in regards to Gaza will probably be true.
Now, we all know that there was a helicopter plane crash over D.C. on Wednesday night. 64 people were killed on the plane and 3 people in the helicopter. And Trump has come out with another comment about DEI, claiming that DEI was responsible for it. He first tried to say, it was the air traffic controller, which he took back that comment and said it was probably the people in the helicopter who who were controlling the helicopter. Any comment on that?
Yeah, I guess quickly I have two. Of course, first and foremost, prayers to everyone.
Yes.
Number two, if his presumption is correct, presuming it's correct, I would like to hire him to be the New York City Police Commissioner.
Okay, let's move on to a topic that's been in the news since he became president, but actually it's been before him. His mass deportation initiative is off to a nice start, according to him, in the metropolitan New York area, and he would like to ramp it up significantly. Each U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is ICE, Fieldhouse has 25. There are 25 scattered around the country, including in New York and New Jersey. Yeah, I'm looking at that too. A meet and greet. We'll get into that later. Now, according to Trump, these offices would be required to make 75 arrests daily under newly established quotas, according to the Washington Post. Now, if the quotas are achieved, it would boost the number of ICE arrests nationwide to more than 1,800. But in September of 2024, under President Joe Biden, the last month for which data is available, ICE arrested about 282 people per day and 5 per day in the New York City area. In 2023, it says ICE arrested 415 people and about 24 in the New York area. Did you know that people were being arrested by ICE under Joe Biden?
I did. I think the only difference I would say between the two, generally speaking, is the arrests that you talk about under Joe Biden were, of course, a lot more quiet, which is why most people didn't know. And I would say they weren't as predominant or active as they are today. What I mean today, specifically here in the Bronx, as it's been reported, is that in Bronx Park East, they're there now as tenants, as I like to call them, right? They've gone into the Bronx Park East area, one or two of those blocks where even the neighbors there do have some concerns, because I understand there's some gang activity. So, so the neighbors do have concerns. But I understand ICE has been in there in the last 24 hours. The more highly reported one, as I'm sure you know, is the one in Highbridge, which is, on the west side of the Bronx. So, those are highly reported. You can walk out of your house tomorrow. They could be on the corner.
Well, going back to Bronx Park East, there was a raid last year by the police where they took away some illegal immigrants. So, maybe that was part of Joe Biden's numbers. Obama was the king of deporting people, AJ says. And, we need numbers on that, AJ. Now, they're doing it nationwide, Tony. The numbers are about 2,800 already since Trump has come into office. And our governor and our mayor are kind of backing Trump's show of force on illegal immigration with ICE raids in the Bronx this week. Adams, a former police captain who has a warm relationship now with Trump, said in a statement, the city will not hesitate to partner with federal authorities to bring violent criminals to justice, just as we have done for years. And Governor Kathy Hochul said that, I want to be clear, there has always been ICE raids in the state of New York, even in the past. This is not a new dynamic. My understanding is that they had specific names of people who committed crimes, serious offenders, and those are exactly the people that we want to remove from the state. Now, I would be surprised. Why haven't they gone to Rikers Island to see who's illegal over there and pull people out of there? Any more comments on the ICE raids before I move on?
I'll say this in relationship to what you just said. I think we will find out within the next 3 months what is, and it was brought up in last night's debate, what is the new redefinition of what a sanctuary city is.
Mm-hmm. And, just ending a little bit on Trump, Mexico and Canada could be hit with 25% tariffs as soon as Saturday, which is tomorrow, February 1st. The president doesn't feel Canada and Mexico are taking his threat seriously. Some advisors said they report he wants to hit them with tariffs. First, to prove that he isn't bluffing. Any comment on the 25% tariff? Now, he was proposing a tariff on Colombian coffee of 25%, but he backed down after they said they would send up planes. They wouldn't take our planes, but they'll send planes to get their people and bring them back, the people who Trump wants to deport. So there'll be no tariff on Colombian coffee. I know you drink a lot of coffee, so you must be happy about that. Any comments about the tariffs on Canada and Mexico?
Bob, if you'll allow me, and I appreciate you calling me a 25-year political guru. Thank you. But I'm a 35-year financial and income tax advisor. So allow me to put that hat on for a moment. Generally speaking, tariffs, of course, are a tax. And they're a tax that will ultimately hit the consumer. Of course, a lot of that depends on the items that are involved. Let me remind both you and, more importantly, the audience that, we can talk about political policy and get all, excited and aggravated, but the reality in U.S. economic policy, which might be totally different than other countries, is that our international trade is 10% of all of our economy. Is 10%. Will it have an effect on that? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's always been historically shown that because international trade is part of our U.S. economy, there are many occasions where the offset of that higher price will come from other types of economic activity. It could be consumer spending, it could be investment spending, it could be government spending.
It's like
now, I'm saying that, of course, in other countries, that whole mix is turned around, right? Import, exports, depending on the country you're talking about, could be 50-60% of their national product, right? So will it have an effect on our consumer here? Absolutely. Absolutely. Those prices, presuming he puts these things into effect, and I was actually doing some preliminary math in regards to a future article, could go up on average, 15 to 20%. Now, can that be offset by a growing economy? Yes, it can. So that to me is the bigger question. As an economist, is there future economic growth to offset what's about ready to happen? The one thing we'll learn about Donald Trump, good or bad, is that he's going to tell you. And he just told you, we're doing this Saturday. So as a former trader as well, thinking ahead, okay, I believe him. So, what's going to happen? So
all right,
I
Anthony,
hope that answers your question.
He also says that, Anthony, he also says he wants to kill congestion pricing and that the U.S. Department of Transportation is discussing whether to withdraw key federal authorization that the tolling plan received last year, which would almost certainly touch off a legal battle between the state and federal government, like some of the cuts he had proposed to cut $82 billion from the state. Any comment on congestion pricing?
Oh, I got several, but I'll say two quick things. Number one, I haven't driven a car in 25 years. Thank God. Number two, I think it's asinine. I think it's totally asinine. If you're going to charge this much money for that many people, we shouldn't have a budget problem at all. We shouldn't have a budget problem. That's just my own general, I don't drive, opinion. I have heard mixed results, mostly on the positive. So as an ad hoc driver, I guess, I have heard from other drivers where I guess, people can save anywhere from 20 minutes to a half hour. But I think it's totally politically asinine to charge people anything.
Okay, let me quickly go that senior Justice Department officials under Trump have held discussions with federal prosecutors in Manhattan about the possibility of dropping the corruption case against Mayor Eric Adams, according to people with knowledge of the matter. And it's been said that if the acting U.S. attorney here in New York doesn't drop the charges, that Trump may fire her. Any opinion on that?
I only have one. Have you put in for your pardon yet?
My party?
Yeah, no, your pardon. Have you put in for your pardon yet?
Oh, no, I don't need a pardon.
Oh, okay. I'm just checking because everybody's putting it in. That's why I'm asking. I'm sure Eric Adams might be number 296, but I'm sure he's on that list.
All right. Well, we'll continue with this. Let's go to a commercial right now, if we have one. We'll get back to talking about the MTA budget and the magical mystery of where the money is going to come from. So let's go to a commercial right now.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses, politicians, and government agencies, we offer targeted advertising solutions that drive results. Amplify your message. Reach the heart of the Bronx and beyond. Our platform connects you to the community. Learn more. Email info@bronxpost.com or call 718-892-5555. Visit www.bronxpost.com for breaking news and updates. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative.
Welcome back. My guest is Anthony Ravecchio. Anthony, are you here? We're going to talk about the MTA. Their budget was proposed at...
Quick question for you. Quick question for you. Two things real quick. Number one, I want to thank both your producer and the founder of this show for having me on, which leads me to my second, which is, how come you're not in the commercial?
Well, we have to update that anyway. Well, that Bronx Post commercial or the promo? We have to update the promo and get Joe Biden out of there. Okay, we still have Joe Biden in our promo. But the $68 billion MTA capital plan was rejected by the Assembly Speaker Hasty and Senate Majority Leader Stuart Cousins. So there's a $33 billion budget gap in the MTA plan. Now, the governor has insisted the ball is in the legislator's court, but are we going to be grabbing? Oh, there's $33 billion. Okay, now we fill the MTA gap. Is that what we're going to see?
Similar. You're going to see it like this. It's called an ashtray. You know why? Because it's going to be called marijuana sales.
Right. They're trying to put them, just like you had your little deli on every block, they want to have a cannabis store on every block. So this way they'll have more revenue. And like I said to Senator Gustavo Rivera, okay, and John Sicaro has proposed to have in-house smoking to make them like cigar stores, where you can come in and buy your cannabis or marijuana or weed, whatever you want to call it, and smoke it there or eat it there and then walk out, much like a bar when you get too many drinks. Okay, so there's no plan. I said to Senator Gustavo, how do you know when a person is intoxicated with cannabis? Well, we don't have one right now. Okay, that was his answer. But Police Commissioner Tisch has initiated a new subway plan that she wants to create a division within the 34-member police department dedicated to quality of life issues, such as people sleeping on the subway cars and other things. Now, State Senator Zelnor Myrie, who is a friend of yours, I believe, has proposed hiring 3,000 officers. Former Controller Stringer has proposed a quality of life tracking system, and Brad Lander, the current controller, has pledged to end homelessness. Any comment on the commissioner's new subway plan to clean up the subways?
Yeah, and this is where my gray hair shows. it reminds me of 1977 because those were the problems that we had in 1977. Similar yet different circumstances, but that was the problem was. People today are calling for 2 cops in every subway station. Some are calling for 2 cops in on every subway unit, right? We got to start there, in my opinion, to keep the subway safe. Quality of life issues, some that you talked about. Well, we have many on record from the 80s and 90s, regardless of the politics, regardless of the politics. We implemented programs in the 80s and 90s that some were helpful, some were not. But by the year 2000, in my opinion, I think we finally had a lot of those problems that you're talking about under firm control. So the answers are there. All we got to do is look at our history. But we're back to 1977.
Well, I mean, when Mayor Giuliani came in, his first thing was to get rid of the squeegee guys. Much like Commissioner Tisch says, you get rid of the small crimes because they're the people who are committing the bigger crimes. So, the city got a lot better when he got rid of the squeegee people. Let's go into the Rikers. The Rikers was supposed to close in 2027. There's been a plan proposed. The federal judge, Laura Swan, is supposed to decide in the case Nunez versus the city of New York. Adams has proposed, well, I have my own commissioner of the DOC. She should be able to handle it. The Legal Aid Society has presented another side. And like you say, Rikers was heavily criticized in the 70s, 80s for overpopulation and other things. Mayor Bill de Blasio finally supported a plan to shut down it. But it looks like that Rikers is not going to meet the 2027 deadline. You have the capacity has been increased from 3,300 to 4,160, but about 6,700 people were incarcerated in New York City jails as of December 16th. And the costs are ballooning over the past years for the Queens and Bronx facilities, which may not be completed until 2031. And they haven't even started on the Manhattan jail, which they say would be 2032 to finishing that, 5 years after Rikers is supposed to close. Any comments on the closure of Rikers and what should be done?
Oh, Lord. I received a report a few days ago. I can't verify if it's true. Maybe you can. That I understand they started the Bronx construction of one the other day.
Yes.
So my feelings on the plan. I've always, wished that Rikers, whether it was city controlled, federally controlled, whatever it was, would go back to its original purpose. And if you remember, its original purpose was a detainee center. You are innocent until proven guilty. If you have to be held awaiting trial, that's fine, although due rights still have to be maintained. So what's a reasonable time for someone to go to court that has to be held and is still being alleged? That was the purpose of Rikers. It was supposed to be a short-term stay.
Right. And you're correct on that because we had problems where people were arrested for minor crimes and they were sitting in jail for a year, in Rikers or whatever. And they couldn't get swift justice. And that led to a person killing themselves, and the legislators, the progressive legislators saying, oh no, we can't have that. We can't have these people in there. And they came up with no cash bail. So these people wouldn't be held in Rikers, as you say. But we see the problems of no cash bail and what it is. Now, let's move into Adams' reelection. He says he's going to run in the Democratic primary for reelection. The New York Times had him quitting today, which he says is phony, that I'm not quitting, I'm going to run for reelection. He met with 2 union leaders, Manny Pastrick from 32 BJ and Rich Morocco, who heads the Hotel and Gaming Council, Trades Council. So it looks like Adams is in, but there have been debates, forums, I should say, There was one Wednesday in Upper Manhattan. We had one in the Bronx last night. And where was Mayor Eric Adams? He has not come to these debates. There's been rumors he may run as a Republican and independent. I don't think so. I don't know what you're going to say about that. But let's talk about last night's debate. What's your opinion of last night's debate? And then I'll give you mine.
Oh, Lord. First and foremost, I guess it was good to have it in the Bronx, right? So that was good. I thought, of course, the location, Lehman College, I'm biased, but I thought that was good as well. The Bronx Democratic Party gave it, and I think to the best of their attempts, they were able to get most of the candidates there. It was a disappointment that Eric Adams wasn't there. I'm sure he was aware of it. Some of the candidates, as you know, I'm sure you'll report, weren't there, or I should say came late. I thought the questions were well. I thought the moderator, Gary Axelbank, handled himself well. I am aware just from sort of some backdoor stuff that most of those questions came from audience participation. So I got to congratulate the audience actually just as much. I'm biased, so I'm going to give it a C+. The only reason it's not higher is because they held it in one of the auditoriums. This auditorium held about 100 people max. So was it full? Yes. It held about 100 people max. But as you know and I know, the Bronx Democratic Party and other organizations have held these type of events at Lehman College in bigger auditoriums like the Lovinger Theater, where at times I saw it at 300, 400, maybe even 500 people. So being a Bronxite, I want to see 1 billion Bronxites. So being biased, I give it a C+. Otherwise, I will go a lot higher.
Our friend AJ has commented on it that it was a debate. It was soft. The questions weren't hard enough. And he thinks Sohan Morandi blew them out of the water as usual, but wish they actually did some real questions in journalism, he says. I thought it was a good debate, like you said. I think, the questions could have been harder, like AJ says. But there were 6 candidates there. 4 showed up initially. It was Controller Landa, former Controller Stringer, State Senator Jessica Ramos, and Sohan Morant. No, who am I missing? Who was the 4th one there?
You mentioned Mr. Blake.
No, Blake came later. I'm talking the original 4.
Jessica Ramos.
No, I said Jessica. I'm missing somebody. Okay. I said Landa, Stringer, Ramos. Come to me in a second. Let me look at a picture. No, I have pictures from last night.
I would like to make a comment though on what both of you just said. When we talk about harder questions, in one way I don't disagree with AJ. On the other hand, on one hand I don't disagree with him, but on the other hand I do. Give you one simple example. Right? That budget question, the parks budget question, right? There was a question about 1% of the park budget. Which one of those candidates would accept that? And I don't want to, because I'm biased, I don't want to mention anyone in particular, but it was amazing to me that only one candidate committed to that 1%, that the other ones were hemming and hawing. I'm saying to myself now, as an economist, I'm like, you guys are fighting for 1%. You should be glad I'm not running, because I might ask for 10. So it's amazing. So AJ's right. In one sense, that's a stupid question. But in another sense, what's more stupid is that only one candidate out of the ones were hemming and on.
Well, I have the picture.
I thought it was a good question because right now, I believe it's half of 1%?
Something like that. I found my picture and I put it up before. It was your friend Zelnor Myrie that I forgot about from Brooklyn. He's the person who's not really gotten much publicity. and then the others came afterwards. If you can, Mr. Producer.
Bedford Park. Myrie lived in Bedford Park while he was attending Lehman College. It's not a plug. I just want people to understand.
This is a photo of the six of them with Mohammed who came, and then Michael Blake, who came really late. Michael Blake is a Bronx boy. He said he went to PS 79 and he attended, and he was representing the 79th Assembly District. He's now with a consultant firm. Scott Stringer has a consulting firm. It seems like politicians, after they leave, go into consultant firms. So I don't know why Scott Stringer wants to run again. But I was impressed at the point about NYCHA, where a controller Lander said, well, I audited NYCHA and I found this, and this wrong. Where Scott Stringer said, well, I didn't do a hit and run one audit. I did 19 audits of NYCHA and I found major, problems. But these two were in office, and you have the others who were in office. What have they done? That's the problem. We need to hold them accountable. And you know what? Eric Adams keeps announcing every day things he's doing. His latest announcement was he wants home ownership. He wants to give people money to buy a co-op or a condo or a house. The city will split up to $600,000 with them, and then when the house is sold, the city gets the money back. You're shaking your head on that. What's the problem with that?
I'm shaking my head because I can't remember the report that I shared with you recently. But I think there was a copy of it in the Bronx Times actually this week or last week. I can't remember, where home ownership is at its absolute low.
Yes.
And it's not going to get better. It's not going to get better when you create I'm going to call it cardboard affordable housing. And I'm going to leave it like that. But the pitch today of home ownership is a fallacy. 20 years ago, absolutely. 30 years ago, absolutely. Today, it's a campaign pitch.
Well, my winner from last night's forum, and it was a forum as it was called, has to be Gary Axelbank. Okay? And I say that because it was quickly done. There was very little publicity on this, as you know, and Gary came out the winner as usual. Okay, it was nice that the Bronx Democratic Party chair, at which Gary called Jamal Bowman at one. Remember that one? Okay,
I do.
But Jamal Bailey, the Bronx Democratic Party chair, said something, and his consultant Jason Laidley had his new jacket on, which must have cost a bundle of money, but the Bronx Democratic Party, had that $700,000, according to New York Focus, that they claim most of it went to Mr. Laidley. So, I was surprised I didn't see his car outside. I wouldn't be surprised if he's driving a Porsche now, much like Stanley Schlein does.
I can't remember the name. Maybe you do. What was the name of the concierge in The Godfather?
Oh, I don't remember that either. That's a long time ago.
Well, that's the role that Mr. Laidley, in my opinion, plays. And might I add, based on last night's events, plays it very, very, very well. He has learned very, very well, very quickly too.
Well, we're at the end of our show. I wish we could go on a little more, but I got to close the show now. I want to thank you, Professor Anthony Ravecchio. I know you're busy right now with taxes. Any final comment?
347-575-5045. If you need tax advice.
Okay, I see my producer has cut off the advertisement by Mr. Ravecchio. So thank you for, he's coming back. There you go. Okay, so again, he put his plug in. You want to?
Thank you for having me.
You want to repeat your plug? You want to repeat it?
Yeah. Well, no. All I'll say is this: any friends, family, dogs, cats that need tax help. And I don't mean preparation. I'm talking tax help. 347-575-5045.
Okay. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming on the show, Anthony, and thank you for watching the show, everybody who's watching. I want to thank AJ for commenting. Kevin Diola was supposed to be commenting, but he's busy. We had something going on Facebook about a street pole that was knocked down. It was on one of the pages. I don't remember. I think it was Councilwoman Christy Mamarato's page, as a matter of fact, because she put up that the pole was fixed. And Kevin took his usual dig at the councilwoman. And I was saying to him, why are you saying that? If you look, there was a tire track on there. It's in a spot where trucks turn to go to Montefiore Hospital or Einstein Hospital. And it looks like it was one of the trucks. The way the pole fell may have brushed it and knocked it down. So I got to have Kevin on the show and we can have a debate on this. And also at last night's mayoral debate, a few of the mayoral candidates said to me, yes, I'd like to come on your show. So hopefully in the next coming weeks, we'll have some of the candidates coming on. And I didn't have enough time to talk to Mr. Ravecchio about the city council candidates. I know I have a commitment from one who is running in the 13th council district to come on the show in a week or two. So let me leave it at that and say thank you for watching again and have a good day.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses, politicians, and government agencies, we offer targeted advertising solutions that drive results. Amplify your message. Reach the heart of the Bronx and beyond. Our platform connects you to the community. Learn more. Email info@bronxpost.com or call 718-892-5555. Visit www.bronxpost.com for breaking news and updates. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative.
In a world where the quality of information available to poorer communities is doctored, tainted, and sometimes regressive, where the words fake news have come to mean other people's opinions, it is vital to rely on news platforms with journalists who have feet on the ground and can report the truth. New York Parrot, a New York-based national and global news outlet, is changing the narratives of media operations. We focus on the news that matters, like self-empowerment, entrepreneurship, finances, health, security, politics, and more. We strive to curb violence, racial and economic discrimination, and to promote peace and socio-economic development of multiculturally diverse world. As we give voice to the people, we also give your business a voice and make it heard. Get your products and services off the ground by advertising on our fast-growing platform. With so much of daily visits to New York Parrot, you can't afford to be invisible to prospective clients on the websites they trust the most. Our posts reach millions of people across the New York State and around the world. Advertising on our news site will unlock an audience of thousands of potential customers on your doorstep. New York Parrot is born to prosperously speak tomorrow for the voiceless.